Good evening, Lucifer Apollo here, talking to you from this isolated place in the sea with all the expression of energy and thunders and water and an infinite quantity of water that we cannot see an end to it. I think it's perfect for talking about ourselves and our divine nature. I was listening to a lecture some time ago from Neville Goddard, and it kind of resonated with me. It sounds accurate because he's using a correct point of view, even though he's using the Bible, which I find it incorrect or deficient, a system of dogma that has been brought to us through time, which is just mostly the imagination of humanity of the past, part of the dogma or the state of ignorance of the species. I don't think it matters because the approach he's having, which is that we are God, that we are the divine, I think makes it sound accurate, even though he's using deficient material. Anything to do with Abrahamic religions, I find it not accurate, not right. So it will not sound correct for me to read something, especially that I call myself Lucifer, that relates to the Bible. But in this case, the lecture is accurate because, again, he is speaking it from the point of view that we are God, we, each of us. And therefore, even though he's using this type of material, it sounds accurate because it's accurate. In the same way that he could have used any other material, but from the point of view he's approaching it, will look and sound correct. But anyway, I did like his lecture, and I want to read it to you guys to see what you think. I will make a little bit of comments as I read the lecture, add my own point of view from time to time. Let's see how it goes. So the lecture is from Neville Goddard. The title is God Became Man. The lecture was done on February 24, 1969, long time ago. Let's begin. You are told that God became man, that man may become God. You may think you are the man that God as another became, but I tell you, you are the God who became man, that man may become you. Because my visions which parallel scripture are accurate, I can boldly say that what I have just told you is true. In the 82nd Psalm, we are the speaker speaking to ourselves, saying, I say, you are God's sons of the Most High, all of you. Nevertheless, you will die like men and fall as one man or princesses. I'm thinking that all the history of the world, all the stories of the world, all religions, all systems are basically us talking to ourselves. But humanity has not realized that. They think there is a God outside themselves, separate to themselves. But it's always been us. We are the ones that manifested all this. We are the ones that fell into this density. And the story of every religion is in reality a story about ourselves, that we had transferred across time to transfer that knowledge to teach us, but we have forgotten that we are the God that must realize that divinity again. And so here we are. Anyway, let's continue. We are the sons of the Most High, and we and our Creator are one. It's accurate. God is us, and we are God. Let's continue. Although we are now in a world of men, we have been promised that posterity will serve us and tell of the Lord who wrote it. You and I actually became human, that humanity may become spirit as we are. You are not a little worm that God became you, that became. You were God before you devised the grand experiment, knowing it was the only way that man could become as you are. Reverse your thinking. Think of yourself as God, and you will have an entirely different feeling about becoming man. And although certain passages of Scripture are not understood on this level, their meaning will be revealed, for we made everything because we love it. Then we became men to raise and glorify our creations. We had to completely forget our true being in order to assume our creation and rise it to our level. I agree with him, we could not have experienced this world if we were fully aware of our own nature. If we are God and we become part of that creation, then we can experience it as something new, as something that is outside ourselves, that eternity, that uniqueness could not be actually enjoyed in the creation. So although we manifested this universe and this planet, in order for us to experience it, we had to become part of that creation. But it's also at the same time, in order to actualize all that we have learned and become and experienced within our creation, we must rise again into the divine self. So I agree with him here. Now let's continue. The second psalm begins with our cry of despair, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? But ends on this triumphant note. Posterity will serve him. Men will tell of the Lord to the coming generation and proclaim that he was wrote it to those that are yet unborn. This is not referring to another generation, but to the gods who have not yet discovered they came down and assumed human nature, and then accomplished what they set out to do. The drama begins with the crucifixion, when God has union with men. It ends with the resurrection, when God raises men to the level of himself. Everyone will be raised to the level because we are the gods who came down. The 82nd Psalms begins, God has taken his place in the divine society, in the midst of the gods who holds judgment, saying, Ye are gods, sons of the Most High, all of you. Nevertheless, you will die like men and fall as one man, O princesses. Dying in order to become men, we have assumed men's entire nature in order to rise men to the level of love. For in the end, there is nothing but love. Look around and you will see what man has done, is doing, and is capable of doing. And you will see the nature we took upon ourselves to rise it to the level of infinite love. The crucifixion did not take place in the year 1 AD, but in the beginning of time. The Bible begins, in the beginning God, the world, translate God is Elohim, which is the compound unity of one man, or one made of many. We are the gods who create the heavens and the earth. Many years ago I relived that event by fulfilling this 42nd Psalm. Taken chronologically, this psalm appears to have happened in 1000 BC, yet I remember when I became it. Yes, we are one, and yet we are many. The many is one, and the one is many. I agree. We fractalize, and then we forgot who we are, to experience ourselves as separated from each other and from God, which is us. But in the end, we should reunite as one. Now let's continue. Hearing a voice in the depths of my soul proclaim, I am God in the act of waking. I begin to will in space and time. Then I felt myself being sucked into this crucifix. My hands were vortices, my feet vortices, my side a vortex, and my head a vortex. Life itself became one with men. I was not man waiting for life. I was life which entered men. I took upon myself the cross that is man to bear the rise and rise it to the level of love. Everything, regardless of how horrible it seems to be, was made in love and must be raised to the level of love. 139 days after I woke and rose from my tomb, God's only begotten Son, David revealed me as his father. I did not become the father at the moment. I was always the father, but came down and took upon myself the cross that is man, to rise him to the level of fatherhood. I don't agree with him that everything was about love. I think we create this place, we forgot ourselves, and we begin to experience it fully. And yet, through the ages, as we forgot further and further who we were, the nature of this cosmos, the earth, became cruel or defective in order to bring us into the realization that we are not the creation, that we must return from our dream back to our true state. So I think right now the earth and the universe has become like some sort of entrapment for our soul. So now it's no longer about love, but about escaping by realization of our true condition or true being. Now let's continue reading. Now in the 10th verse of the 22nd Psalm we read, "Deliver my life from the power of the dog." In the King James Version, the Hebrew word Yachid is translated as "my darling," and as "my life" in the Revised Standard Version. The word first appears in the 22nd chapter in the 2nd and 16th verses of Genesis, where it is translated as "my only son." That is what the word Yachid means in Hebrew. So we see that the psalmist was asking to deliver his only son from the power of the dog. In the 16th Psalm, David speaks saying, "Do walls not lead my soul in hell?" Here the word translated hell means uncovered, to disclose, to reveal, to take off the cover. In other words, do not lead me uncovered, but reveal me, that I in turn may reveal you. For the Father will never be known save through his Son, who must be uncovered. The night I kept my promise, I exploded, and my son, he who had been concealed, was set free, to reveal me as God the Father. I did not become God the Father, I was always He. I had purpose buried my son with me while I played the part of man, and then I unveiled my son so that he could reveal me as God the Father. The night I fulfilled the statement, delivered my only son from the power of the dog, I was possessed by a vision of two very handsome men standing at my side. He's accurate here again. We are the Father and the Father is us. Anyway, let's continue. They were about 40 years of age and were looking at my son, a lad about 12 or 13, with loss beyond measure. Then I reminded them of David's victory over Goliath. As I pointed to his severed head on a table before me, leaning against an open door, my son was looking out on a pastoral scene while I was seated at his right, in fulfillment of the statement, "Thou art at my right, so I shall always be saved." We are the gods who assume human form, now playing all the parts in the world. In time we will leave the part we are now playing up to our true self. Who is God the Father before we descended? We were the Elohim who deliberately created the play. Then we entered our creation to redeem it. Although this may seem arrogant, I know what I'm talking about. Thomas Chancy, the editor of Encyclopedia Biblica, which is one of the most scholarly of all the higher criticisms of the Bible, questioned how God could have taken his place in the divine assembly. Yet I know that when we agree to descend and dream in concert, the one made up of the many proclaim, I say, you are gods, sons of the Most High, all of you. Nevertheless, you will die like men and fall as one man, O princesses. We are all princesses, for we are the gods who made up, the God who came down into mortal form, to rise these forms to the level of ourselves. Man has completely reversed it. Today, a prophetic book is all about mechanism, more and better mechanism. Instead of plowing the field with a hoe, man now uses a tractor. Instead of a wheelbarrow, we use a missile to go to the moon. Man is making greater and greater mechanisms, but no one is telling of a older humanity. No one writes of that which came down into man and cannot return until he is born from above. No one is telling of this being who is going to rise out of his mortal skull and take man with him. Rather, they tell of greater and greater mechanism. Yet I tell you, the eternal story is that I am that I am. Took on mortality, I am the God who now wears your mortal form. The union is so complete, I feel I am human, and I will take this human feeling with me back into the level of love. We are the gods who came down in order to become individualized. That is correct. He's aware of his own divine self, and so whatever he writes, he will actually create accuracy in that description. Let's continue. What we will do tomorrow, I do not know. We will again descend into another element of the animal world, or will it be the plant or mineral world where we will redeem? We must redeem everything we have created, for we cannot leave anything unredeemed. So as Tennyson said in his poem called "The Plan Be Patient," our playwright will show in some fifth act what this wild dream drama means. I, the playwright of this wild drama, will not be satisfied just to redeem one section of the whole of creation must be redeemed. This has been quite a challenge, but God has wrote as you are told in the end of this wonderful story. Posterity will serve him, and men will tell of the Lord to coming generations and proclaim that he has wrote it. You are infinitely greater than you think you are. You and I were together in eternity, which is everlastingly enduring. What cannot endure forever ceases to be. When God ceases to imagine something, it vanishes. But you and I are eternal beings who came down into time. As Blake said, we build mansions in eternity in these ruins of time. Not one thing that has ever happened is happening or will happen. It's out of killer. It is all in order. Recently, the Pope said that a man should not go against his conscience, but his conscience must be educated to conform to the doctrine of the Church. Of all the nonsense in the world, here is a man who sets himself up as the criterion of all that is right or wrong. Let us get back to Scripture, for it has a thing to do with this outside world of death. Now, in the beginning, we created the bull, the mule, the harlot, the homosexual, and the lesbian. We made everything because we love it. So why at the end of the drama should two men look upon my only begotten Son with such lust? To fulfill the 20 verse of the 22nd Psalm, deliver my only son from the power of the dog, the power of the male temple harlot, for that is what the word dog means. Seeing the look of lust in their eyes, I reminded them of David's victory of the giant whose head completely severed from the body was on a table before me. Everything is in order. The man had to be there when I broke the tomb, for I could not leave my only son in his world of death. Rather, I will take him with me, for being a man after my heart, David has done all my will. My son played every part I have played wherein the part to men. I will not leave my loved one in this world of death. So I broke the grave and resurrected him. Having redeeming him, I now take him into my heavenly state, where without speech we share each other's wisdom. I urge you to condemn no one, no matter what he has ever done. You have done it. We do it. We are doing it now. Every part was created by the gods who came down and assumed human nature in order to play them all Davas or crucifixion. Yeah, we have been everything, we have been the poor, the rich, the slave, the strong, the weak. We have played all the parts across the ages. So all the human experience, is our experience. Whatever happens in the future is our experience. We are everything. We are it. Now let's continue. I remember the night I led the procession to the house of God. I can still feel the ecstasy I knew as I became the six vortices, the Mag and David, the great star of David, and was soaked into and took upon myself the cross of men. Now, like Paul, I teach Christ as imagination's power and wisdom crucified. Christ is now in you because he has already been unified with the body you wear. I prefer to say Lucifer is now with you. But let's continue. And you will remember who you really are when you reenact the drama of Scripture. If you really want to awaken, dwell upon what I have told you. I am not flattering you, and you and I are the gods who came down. We are not less than we were before we came. We are great for having descended and for redeeming this section of creation called man. But we cannot leave any section unredeemed. We have now proved that we can come into the world and overcome death, and we will redeem it, everything we created in time. We create every state and love it at the time of creation, and we will play every state before the quiescences of it all. Our eternal beloved being called David calls us Father, and you will take him with you. For he is your only begotten Son, who revealed you to yourself. David died and was buried, but you will not leave him in the world of death. You will break the shell with a terrific explosion. As though the skull erupts, and David, who was buried there, is set free. To reveal you to yourself, then in time you will take him back into the heavenly sphere, the eternal, the everlasting, the enduring state of the redeemed. Death is not real. We really never die. But it is an illusion, just as this world. With this, he says, now let us go into silence, and he ends the lecture. I think it's a beautiful lecture. Hope you like it. If I find other of his lectures that I find interesting, I will read another one from Neville Goddard. And tell me what you think of the lecture, and give me your opinion also about it. Alright guys, thank you for listening, and good night. Bye.